is their Cordova creator of the Leicester equaliser. El Khanous, how much room does he have here? El Khanous going for goal, and he finds it as well. What a turnaround here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
4 minutes, Leicester have soaked up so much pressure. Fatawi jinking feet to get beyond his man, and the header from Jamie Vardy makes it 2.
Wood should score. Wood Knockout. Yes! Anthony Knockout has done it.
Tielemans lining one up. What a goal! What a brilliant goal by Yuri Tielemans! And the Leicester City fans go absolutely potty.
Ball in behind Damian Vardy. It's 11. It's heaven for Jamie Vardy. Hold the back page. Hold the front page. A Leicester player has smashed the record.
Hello and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. It is Sunday morning, which of course means it's time for Good Morning Foxes. It's not just Sunday morning, it's actually match day as well. We've got a long day of content on the way. Obviously, we've got Good Morning Foxes now, and we've got all the match day live stuff later on this afternoon, this evening, whatever you want to call it. As you can see, I am joined by my good friend Tom. Graham will be here soon as well. But Tom, how are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. I think I just said to you off air, I'm looking forward to another loss, mate. But I mean, actually, before we get into it, we'll get Graham added because he's just clicked in.
I've been sitting there looking, hello, I've just been looking at my picture for about 5 minutes thinking, have I got the wrong time? And then I realised I hadn't clicked it. So.
That's all right, mate. How are you doing, Graham? You all right? You okay?
Good. Yeah. The connection might be not absolutely brilliant, but it's not you. It's to Ethernet, internet, or whatever.
That's all good, mate. Look, Graham, I want to ask you off the bat, and then I'll come to Tom. I just said to Tom off air that I'm looking forward to another loss today. Now, that sounds very negative of me, but what are you thinking, mate? How are you feeling ahead of tonight's game?
Yeah, I'm old school. You never should start any game or go to anything in life thinking you're going to lose because it's, law of averages says, we can't hit a barn door with a banjo. We'll give one goal away, but who knows? I mean, this is the best chance we've had because we've had 10 days or something of them playing with each other, if you excuse the expression. And, maybe they've discovered some secret elixir that will make it happen. But, come on, Mox, cheer up, mate.
Well, Tom, Graham's telling me to cheer up, mate. What about you? How are you feeling?
Can't keep losing. Something has to turn. There has to be a give that we are playing the worst Manchester United team in history near enough. And yes, they might have won the other night against 10 men, but something has to turn. We have to get a W at some point before the end of the season. We can't go the rest of the season with just losing or draw somewhere. Look, if they're going to win a game, I think today would be the game to go and win. It's not going to be easy, but look, this Man U team isn't special. They're not that good. And if Leicester can put a performance in like they did against Man City, like they did against Chelsea last week, and actually have a go at them, then there's no reason why they can't spoil the party today. To get a win from somehow. But look, it all depends what performs and what team turns up. If it's the team that turned up against Brentford, Fulham, Palace, Wolves at home, then kiss goodnight to the victory before you even start. That's the thing about it. And I think probably the mindset of most of fans now is that it's done and dusted and it's just sleepwalking back to the Championship, sadly.
I mean, after the results yesterday in the Premier League, we now find ourselves 9 points from safety, Graham. As Tom just said, a lot of fans are kind of just believing now it's done and dusted. Do you think maybe that could then actually take a bit of pressure away from Leicester a little bit in a way? Because I feel like that's what happened the Great Escape. Yes, we played excellently for the end of the season, but everyone looked at us as down, that down and buried, and maybe that took away a bit of pressure.
I think how did it feel? I think we had some people within the within the club or within the team that believe that we could do better than we did. Cambiasso and his mate, whose name I can't pronounce, have got to take a lot of credit for that. Pearson being forced to play Albright and changing it. But we don't have those players this season. We have what we've got. It will take the pressure off. Will it take the pressure off? I wouldn't want to be playing for Leicester at home today against Man City and we go 2-0 down at half time. That's not going to be, that's not going to be a lovely place to play. So I think I'm trying to say in the season that we got relegated last time, we only got relegated by 2 points or whatever it was, wasn't it, in the end? So one win would have done that and we wouldn't be having this conversation today. The last time before that, we were dead and buried after Christmas and this miracle performance started. There has been nothing that I've seen in this team, especially under this manager, that gives me that there's any fight whatsoever. So if I were them, I'd go, and if I was the manager, I'd go, a point today is nothing. We've got to win or lose. Our goal difference is completely, I think what's the technical term? Fucked. Yeah. And so we might as well go out there and lose 3-5 or whatever. So that's my point on that one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I've found this season that there's been little bits of hope that fans have taken throughout the season. Like, we all hoped for the transfer window, and we didn't really do much there, and then the hope faded again. We had Ndidi and Hermanson, coming back from injury. Ricardo, for example, these players come back from injury where there was a little bit of hope, and obviously then that quickly faded when we lost games. And now I think the last bit of hope is probably that we changed our system. We changed the formation in the last game. Some people would say we played better. I think defensively we did. So have you got a bit of hope off that, Tom? That we have changed the formation, and yes, we did lose the last one, but it was better, you could say.
Oh, it's definitely a better performance, but it was the same old problems, wasn't it? The link-up play from the midfield to the attack was non-existent. We didn't create enough chances in the game. I think the only chance really created was Vardy's half shot in the second half, and possibly would have been an own goal that hit the crossbar and went over that way. We didn't really create enough in the game going forward, and especially the second half, there was a lot of opportunities when Mavididi was crying out for the ball on the left-hand side with acres of space, but we took so long to switch the ball to him. By that point, Chelsea put 2 men on him and went, right, you beat 2 men. And we all know that Mavididi is not going to take 2 men and beat them every time. So, yes, there is positive take from it. But I think looking at this, I look at it, even if Leicester went on a miracle run again, you have to look at Wolves' next 3-4 fixtures, mate. They've got West Ham at home, Ipswich away, Tottenham at home, Man United before they play us. We've got Man United today, Manchester City, Brighton. Before we even think about getting to that Wolves game in 3 or 4 games time, but by that point it could be even more over than it is now. So as much as we got positive to take going into today, it is win or bust really for me now. We have to win. We have to keep that gap to 6 points. Where it would go back to today, sort of 7 point with a goal difference what it is now. But basically we've got to win 3 games and hope that Wolves lose 3 games to go above them, and then it's in our hands. But that's the only thing you've got to try and be positive. It's still in our hands. It still could happen, but it's so hard to believe that it's going to happen. The Great Escape season, there was one thing different in the whole season that year. The belief was there that we could stay up. The belief was there because we weren't getting smacked every game, and that we were only losing games 2-1 or 3-1. It was only by a goal difference. We were in every game. Pearson then made the tweet. We went to a 5-3-2, and we started winning football matches, and the confidence was always there through the season. This time around, you just think the goal goes in. As soon as that goal hits the net, we just seem to collapse. We did it against Brentford. We did it at Palace. We've done it early in the season over to Wolves. The goal goes in and the confidence seems to drain away. So look, as much as we want to be positive going into today's game with Man U on a poor run of form, but Leicester have got to somehow now go. It's shit or bust really is going into the end of the season. We've got to go at games and we've got to attack from the start. And if you don't, and you can see the goal, as Graham pointed out rightly so, that the King Power gets very toxic very quickly now, sadly.
Sorry, I was on mute. Tom mentioned there, Graham, about the parallels, or not so many parallels between this season and the Great Escape year. Because I think a lot of people keep saying, they were saying for so long, well, Great Escape, we look dead and buried and all of that. I mean, I know you've already mentioned it, Graham, but this season there doesn't seem to be as much fight. We're not in games, or maybe on the score line, I suppose, in a couple of the games, yes. Like we only lost 1-0 to Chelsea, but we just seem to get battered against too many teams this season. And it's all right, it's all well and good, putting in a good performance against a Chelsea, but then you don't turn up against the Wolves, against the Brentfords, you get battered. I mean, you can't. There is no comparison, really, is there, to the Great Escape?
No, but there is a great comparison to every Leicester team I've watched for the last 55 years. I think it was a season in '82. I know you weren't born then or whatever, but when we got relegated and we beat Spurs home and away, and we beat Liverpool home and away. But I think we must have just about lost every other game. So there must be something in the water that has that. I mean, I think my point with this one is, we are the most relegated team, along with Birmingham, in Premier League history. Whatever happens, we've been relegated twice under the owners. I know football didn't start till 1992, but I can remember a little period of my life where we were up and down. So we've defied gravity. We've defied gravity even better than we were allowed to, because we won the Premier League and everybody's said, well, we can't do that. And I think that the Premier League now has decided that they don't want the teams from championships to stay up. They want them to go back down. And unless you can get 2 or 3 years in the Premier League without having this PR whatever thing hanging over your head, and invest gradually in a squad, look at Forest. They've spent millions on, and to be true, it's got them where they've got a good manager and whatever. I watched the Brighton Man City game last night. Mm-hmm. There is no way we would have given Brighton Man City the sort of game that Brighton did. They attacked. They had 3 or 4 players. They were full of confidence. They had guys that scored. It was. I was looking at that and I was trying to find what I can find about my team.
Yes.
So for me, nobody's going to like this. I'm going to be as unpopular as ever. I think the best thing in this situation we are now is to get relegated and rebuild again. Because even if we stay up by 1 point, what the foof is that team going to look like in the Premiership next season?
Mm. Yeah, no, you know what though, Graham? To a certain degree, I do agree with you, because it's kind of, it feels wrong, right? You're not meant to say, I want my team to get relegated, or we're not saying that even, are we? We're just saying maybe it's the best thing for the club, right? To get relegated and rebuild. But I mean, Tom, what do you make to that? Because I mean, these conversations have happened in the past. I remember, clubs across the country have spoken like this before. I remember Leeds United last season, although they were desperate to go up and they bottled it as always. At the end of the season, they said, you know what, maybe it was better for us to stay down. I mean, you think back to the year we got promoted to the Premier League under Nigel Pearson after the playoff, the Troy Deeney goal. You've got to say we were probably in a better place going up the year after than we would have been, the season before. So what do you think, Tom, to what Graham just said there? Maybe it is better for the club to go down and rebuild, because what would our squad even look like next season?
First, the point about the playoff when we lost to that Deeney goal. Yes, it was too early for the club to get promoted, and we probably would have gone up and come straight back down. I don't think the club was anywhere near ready for Premiership football again. Look, I've seen enough teams go up and get relegated and go down again. I've had the heartache under Peter Taylor, going up again under Mickey Adams, relegating again under Mickey Adams, relegated to League One. I've seen the good and the bad of Leicester over the years since 1995, 96, even when I started going down Filbert Street. To now that, look, the club, the only way for me now, and I put it on Twitter this morning, the only way it seems possible to stay in the Premier League if you're a newly promoted club is take the gamble, spend a couple of 200-300 million on a squad of players to make sure you're competitive and you have that goodness of character and quality of player, and then hope you don't get a massive points deduction and go with it that way. Forest did it. Forest went up, took a bit of a points deduction, but managed to stay in the league. Look at Ipswich, they've gone up because they're a brand new team going up. They're not under the same sanctions as Leicester City are under the PF rules. The PF rules are there to support the big clubs. They're not there to support the little clubs and the clubs that are trying to get back to where they were before. Leicester now, I think, in a mess from top to bottom. We all can see that. We all can chuck blame at John Ruckin. We can all chuck the blame at Susan Whelans. We can all chuck the blame at the owners. I think in general, the Football League and the Premier League need to sort themselves out from top to bottom and how they, support clubs. There's too many big clubs that had massive points deduction over the years, and financial could have gone under. Bolton, Portsmouth, but teams that have gone under. Bury went under. These teams should never be in those situations. Football as a family should be supporting each other when clubs get into a financial difficulty. But no, once again, the Premier League make a stand that no, we're not going to feed any of the hundreds of millions of pounds worth of TV revenue down through the thing. We'll give you about 10 million, 12 million spread between the other 60 odd league clubs. I just think Leicester now in a situation where they have to, going down is obviously not good for us. We know that. We said it last time we went down. It was going to financially cripple the club as it is. But I think it just proves that we weren't ready to come back up in the financial status. It was good for us financially sort of to get back up and get the money we would go and get from it. And obviously we get 3 years worth of parachute payments. But now I think if fans think we're just going to be in the top two next season, we won't be, because the Football League are waiting to kick our ass. They are waiting to chuck a sanction on us. They are waiting for a transfer embargo, and they're waiting for a points deduction. They're going to do everything possible to stop Leicester just yo-yoing back up again. That's what they're going to make sure that happen. And I think for us now, it is rebuilding over a 2 to 3 year project. It is finding that next manager. If the club want to support Van Nistelrooy and let him have a go at it, then all by means, the club's going to do that route. Well, I think seems the most likely outcome at the moment. I think from the way the clubs have spoken, from the way Van Nistelrooy has spoken, that he's here for the long haul, even if that's in the Championship. So he must have known that could have been a possibility that he might be managing the Championship next year. But this isn't a manager that can sit there on his high horse and say, I shouldn't be in the Championship. This is a manager who's got to rebuild his career anyway. He quit PSV. He's not going to want to quit Leicester as well unless there's something really dramatic goes on. He needs to build his managerial career. Look at Lampard. He started off great at Chelsea, went back down. Van Nistelrooy has now got to do the same thing. Yes, he did well at Man United, but the club in general from top to bottom, supported by a manager that if he wants to be here, let's give him the opportunity to do it. But there's wholesale changes again in that squad of players. It's going to have to happen. And I think next year round, if we make it to the playoffs, it's been a very good season. But yeah, expect a long time back in the Championship in my head. That's what Rosie said.
Yeah, I mean, Graham, you said the Premier League they want the three promoted teams to go back down. They're probably quite happy with the gap in quality between the Premier League and the Championship. Whereas on the other hand, the Championship probably don't want the same three to go back up, right? So they probably don't want a Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton all to go up back up next season, which is probably why. As Tom said, we are expecting them to throw the book at us next season because we made them look silly last season with the PSR stuff. We've done the same to the Premier League. I mean, both leagues probably just want us gone, don't they? They don't want anything to do with us.
Well, again, I know that I'm sometimes get labelled a supporter as the board against the club, but that's not the case. But really, come on, our people of whoever was the genius that changed the accounting period by 1 week deserves the biggest bonus. We'll come down with sorry, I could go through all that shit again, but I won't. Basically, what will happen is, and that is the difference with the Championship, is it isn't the same teams that are going up and down each season. There is a change. I mean, we will go down with a potload of cash. What I would say for the fans and everybody is, whatever happens next year, just get behind the club. If they put, Docker's 15 points, they daren't. I tell you what, I don't think they dare put a transfer embargo, because as crap as this team is in the Premier League, I think this team has a good chance of in the Championship. I know there's this, shall we go down for 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. We can't choose when we come up. I mean, playoff finals have been. I think I've been to every playoff final. The worst one, the best and the worst was the Swindon one. But the worst thing about the Swindon one is we all knew the manager was going to Chelsea as soon as the game was over. How unfair is that? So football's not fair. Football's very much like life. I need to use a word you couldn't use to describe females. So it is a really hard place. I'll ask you both the question. Apart from some of Enzo's liking football, didn't we all enjoy last season? If we go up and come down every year, no, as I say, it was a good season. The aim, I think, with the club, if I was running the club now, is to get the team into the best position financially and physically it can. And there is no financial difficulty. We have a very rich owner who, if he was allowed to, would stick a couple 100 million in and Bob's your uncle and it wouldn't happen. But the rules aren't like that anymore. When he first came to the club, we got the golden goose that laid several eggs. I think now that, the issue is get to the strength, get to the Premier League, and then try to do what Leicester, the team, has never been able to do, is to slowly build, aim for mid-table mediocrity for about 2 or 3 seasons, and let's see how it goes. Brighton, Palace, Brentford. I mean, I think, was it Palace playing Brentford or something like that? The fixture came up and you just scroll straight past it because it's the last game you ever want to watch in your life, isn't it? But
I was going to say, Graham, but these are teams, the teams you mentioned there, that 4 years ago Leicester fans would have said, "Oh, we're better than them," but now we'd love to be them. We would love to be a Brentford or a Brighton or a Palace right now. Right, we've got another guest who's joined us for the rest of the show. Manny is here, so there we go. Here he is, Manny. What's going on, mate?
Back by popular demand. I thought I'd come in and start talking some sense because I was listening to you guys for the last 20 minutes and thought I'd raise the tone.
Shut up. Listen, I bet you're probably as tired as me watching the Grand Prix last night, mate. So I'm feeling it a little bit, but we don't want to talk about the racing because too many people aren't interested. So I was just asking the guys, Manny, about the gap. We were talking about the gap between the Championship and the Premier League and how Leicester should approach really the next few years, mate. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's a good thing in a way that we're getting relegated, which sounds crazy? Is it a good way to rebuild from the bottom up?
Of course, it's not as good being in the Championship as the Premier League. Look, you used to date Margot Robbie, and now you're dating Robbie Savage. I mean, you can try and pretend that it's the same quality, but it's not. Now, there are always silver linings. You could try to build something, but we were here not so long ago. It's not, we'd be better off staying up, having an extra 100 million to spend, not having embargoes and all the other nonsense that's going to come with it, and actually trying to rebuild whilst in the Prem. If you have to go down, of course, then you have to look at the multiple reasons why, particularly since it's 2 and 3 years. And there will be benefits of it that you are forced to strip yourself down as a club. Which members of staff do you actually need? Which ones are actually performing? You can't have any excess fat in the Championship with PSR, I suppose. And that would be some kind of silver lining. But knowing us, if you just replace, inefficiency with further inefficiency, it won't make any difference whatsoever. So, yeah, I mean, Championship is fun, but it does get boring winning every week a bit. You're playing dross. And last time I was so surprised about the standard was so low that it was brilliant at first, 27 wins out of 30. And if we didn't have that wobble towards the end, the season would have been a bit, which rubbish team are we playing today and going to win? On the flip side of that, I get it. Losing every week is so demoralising, and what it does to your mental health is not good. But I want a seat at the big table always.
Tom, moving on to Manchester United. Is this the 4th time we play them this season? 5th? I can't remember. 5th time? 4th time? One of the two. Anyway, 4th or 5th. You're on mute, by the way, mate. You're on mute.
4th time, mate. 4 times, one in the league, FA Cup, League Cup, all away from home.
Yeah, so I just saw that Ruud van Nistelrooy could probably break a few records today. This is a tweet from somebody online. So today we could become the most losses to a single team in 6 months, most goals conceded to a single team in a season, most losses without scoring a goal, and I think on paper the worst managerial start in Premier League history, I believe. So there's a lot of records there that we could break. We love breaking records at Leicester City, Tom. My question, I suppose, to you is, are we going to break those records today? I mean, what do you think?
We do like to lose records. We like to get these records in our book. It's like the Benteke trophy, isn't it? Hagen hasn't scored in so many games. He's scored 2 goals all season. It's like guarantee he'll score today. Look, I said before, I think it all depends which team turns up. If it's the team that played against Manchester City, the Boxing Day-ish, the team that played against Arsenal, put in that fighting spirit last week, Chelsea, then you've got every hope of sort of getting something from today's game. But like I said, it is shit and bust now. We have got to go for it from the start. We can't have half a performance. You've got to be going in there. We've got to be starting positive. You've got to be creating chances. And you've got to get the fans behind you. If you can do that from the start, we've got every chance. This team isn't special. This Man United team isn't that fucking good. Not be funny. I know they won the other night, but that was against some poor Spanish team who, give them a red card, give them a couple of penalties. Everyone will say, they won 4-1, but they had 2 penalties. So in theory, it was only 2-1. And they still had loads of chances to score goals. So, look, Leicester have got to be positive. They've got to create stuff. And that's been our biggest downside all season. And biggest problem, conceding too many goals and not creating enough. And somehow you've got to stick with the same formation, stick with 2 up top. Does Daka feel with confidence to score goals? No, he doesn't. Does Vardy at the moment? No, because no one's creating the chance for him. But you've still got to stick with this formation now to the end of the season. I'd hate to see that team sheet come out at whatever time it is tonight, 5:15, whatever time it's going to be out, and see he's gone back to a 4-2-3-1. He's got to stick with his wing backs. He's got to get Ricardo Pereira in there, because for me, Ricardo Pereira came on that second half and straight away he moved into the inverted fullback role. What made we had an extra body in the middle of the park. It meant Ricardo was bombing forward and sort of helped create chances. What we did in the second half better. But look, tricky game today. But again, like I said, it's about wins now. The performance can be there we want, but if you're not getting the W next to it, then it means nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Graham, as we all know, he did switch to the wing backs, the wing back formation against Chelsea. It was a change that I think everybody was, asking for, not specifically that change, but they were asking for something different. He brought it. We saw Christiansen and Justin as the wing backs with Luke Thomas as a left-sided centre back, which was bizarre at first, but I think Thomas did okay. Are there any particular changes that you would want to see today, Graham, to that lineup?
Again, I think I mentioned it last week. I'd like to see our man Vardy playing in a false line role behind somebody else.
Okay, because he has come deep quite a lot this season, hasn't he? He's dropped in.
He's always been good at that, and he has tremendous of touch. As you say, I think we've been through every bloody permutation. To your point, Manny, about staying up, which it would be lovely to stay up. Look at how many players in this team would you think that we would have to move on to be compete in the Premier League next season?
Well, if we stayed up, then presumably you'd had a team that had got enough points to stay up this season. So
but you've watched them all. Sorry, interrupting, bugger.
Yeah.
That you've watched them all season. They're still going to be the same goddamn players. And if we stay up,
what can you do with £100 million versus what can you do with 25, 30 million pounds? So that's the way I would look at it. It just gives you the options to get a higher caliber of player in, to rectify your problems. The PSR allowance that you have, the players that will stay. If we go down, it's not just about trying to get players in. You'll do very well to try and keep Manson at the club. He's not staying. You'll do very well to keep Ndidi at the club. He's not staying. Bilal's not staying either. So it's not just about replacing the ones that haven't been good enough. You have to replace the ones that have been good enough too. It's just such a nightmare going down with an embargo. Last time, to be fair, we spent, I think it was £38 million. So whilst we lost the likes of Barnes, Maddison, Castagna and others, at least we were able to spend 35, 40 to bring in some, although I'd argue a couple of those signings in Cody and Winks were questionable at best. But we did get Fatal, we went on loan. We did get Mads, we got Mavididi. We can't do the same this time. So trying to repeat those relatively bargain successes. And we got Mads for £5 million, I think it was. Let's see if we can do that again. It's not an easy thing to do. You always want to stay in the big game. Look how Forest survived that first season by hook or by crook. They just scraped through and they've managed to break through and break free. Unfortunately, we're just not in the mix. So, even if we win today, it's all over. The thing that has occurred to me, though, that I've been thinking about the last few weeks in particular is, what is a natural reset involved? We've mentioned DOS, we've mentioned Susan Whelan, CEO, we've mentioned other people involved, the manager himself. Essentially, we've been usurped by a bunch of mid-table, who are now mid-table, but essentially smaller entities than us, who are working. We actually had a head start on them too. So I think we have to not be arrogant or cocky and say, what's going on screaming. We actually really have to analyse, how did these clubs manage to usurp us? How did they build themselves to be sustainable and all the things that we wanted to be, and where did we go wrong? And I know that I've been looking at the 3 Bs in particular, Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, much smaller budgets. They don't have huge outlays, but they are managing to do particularly well this season and have been in the Premier League for several seasons each now. And the heads of these clubs, people like Tony Bloom and Matthew Benham, for those viewers that don't know who these people are, these are some of the shrewdest punters in the country. These people have made hundreds of £1 million, in Tony Bloom's case, billions, being data-based punters, effectively. These guys are highly specialist in their field. They're the rarity of being owners themselves who actually do understand the sport at hand. They really are able to say, Tony Bloom, the owner of Brighton, can say, that player is not going to be good enough. I don't fancy that, so we're not getting him. That player is good enough. We do fancy him. And even someone like Forrest, I don't know how much Marinakis actually buy the players themselves, but it's his own personal connections and contacts that have brought those players in. Not the managers, by the way. The managers buying players is now an old school way of doing things that doesn't apply to the modern age. So we're competing against the sharpest people that are around, and they're the people who've usurped us. Now we have to look at the details of how they managed to do that, and can we replicate those things?
Yeah. No, it's a very good point. I think we discussed it on Fox's Den on Wednesday about recruitment policy and all of that, and it is definitely something that we will discuss a lot over the summer months, because we're going to have to talk about something, and obviously we'll talk about that. Tom, just going back to the United game, mate. Like I said, we saw the wing backs. We saw Victor Christiansen, who I thought was he's getting a lot of criticism at the moment. Victor, I think he's terrible personally, but what changes would you make to that starting 11? Would you want to see Woyo maybe come in, or Luke Thomas, who had an okay game against Chelsea? Would you push him a bit maybe further forward to the wing back? What are you thinking?
If I was to change anything, I'd drop Christian out of the left-hand side. I'd move JJ from right to left, and I'd bring Ricardo in on the right. The amount of times I've seen Ricardo play on the left, and he looks 10 times better playing on that left-hand side than he does on his right for some reason, even though he's right-footed. I think Thomas deserves to continue in that way he played. I thought he had a good game in there. I don't think he put a foot wrong, considering he's not playing regular football. I think he did a half-decent job in that position. And then I think the middle of the park, you need to change it a little bit. I thought Samari was very, very poor. And that's, considering he's had a few good games this season. I think you have to go back to Winks and Diddy in the middle of the park there. You need someone to create something. And much as you're having that reinforcement of Uber and Diddy in there, it doesn't really leave you a creative option where at least Winks wants to get on the ball, he wants to drive forward, he wants to get the balls into the right area to cause opposition teams problem. He is a quarterback. That's the way I've looked at him since we signed him. He is our quarterback. He's the one who starts the play up. And Diddy breaks it up, give it to Winks, and Winks will get the ball rolling going forward. And I think they're probably the three changes would do really. Like I say, Victor Christian out, Justin move over to the left-hand side, Ricardo comes in on the right, and then Harry Winks into the middle of the park would be my changes for today.
I want to bring that to you, Manny, because I know you really don't like Harry Winks.
Not talking to me anymore. Am I getting? I didn't interrupt. Is it because I interrupted? I had to skip around or what?
Pipe down, Graham. The big guns are in town now.
I'm coming to you. No, Graham, I'm coming to you, mate. Don't worry. Yeah, I know. No, the reason I'm coming to Manny is because he really, really, really doesn't like Harry Winks, and Tom brought him up. I mean, Tom, Manny, what do you think to what Tom said there about Harry Winks over Samari? Because look, I know you have your favourites, Manny, and you call them non-negotiables and all of this, right? However, Samari has been poor, so surely you have to drop somebody who's been poor and give somebody else a chance.
The only way Harry Winks gets on the pitch for me is if you want to revert to Enzo Ball from last season. So if you want to have Ricardo next to him, giving him that additional protection, and the three centre-backs giving him additional protection too, and Wilf around in the equation, additional protection too, then you can protect the guy, and then I could make a case. Luke Thomas, I'll never make a case playing for Leicester City. I don't pick my teams based on who had a half decent game in the defeat the last match. And you might point out, he also had a half decent game in the Villa match, which we also lost. I don't pick my players based on, they did okay last week, therefore they deserve their place in the team. I pick my team based on who I think are our best players in the best unit formation possible. So if you want to go Enzo Ball, Ricardo and Winks, I'm happy to drop Booba and drop whoever you wanted to play at right back. I actually would go 4-2-3-1, but I'd go 4-2-3-1 in a format with a selection personnel that we've never had before. So I like Booba and Ndidi being our two screens because they're physically the best at winning the ball back as well. Even though Booba has had several shockers in a row, don't kid yourself. Winks has had several shockers in a row before. That's why he got dropped in the first place. Skip is nowhere to be seen at all anymore. But what we've never had in a 4-2-3-1 is those three that you've got in there is Mavididi on the left, Bilal on the right, and Facundo in the middle. They're our three most attacking weapons as a three, and those three have not played in that combination. So would still like to try that, but at this stage, it doesn't make any difference. I like the fact we haven't scored a goal for December, and people are wishing for a back five again. It just doesn't help us score a goal. And at this stage, I'm not even thinking about points. I'm just thinking, can we score again this season?
Graham, Luke Thomas, I want to know your thoughts on him.
Has everybody finished? Sorry.
Luke Thomas, Graham, because I think I understand where Manny's coming from to a certain degree. I don't think he's very good. But it was an improved defensive performance, wasn't it, against Chelsea compared to a lot of the other games? And on that basis, you could say that we probably should keep that the same.
I don't really care. I think let's get to the big stuff, man. You've been getting yourself moist over all these chairmen that are doing a brilliant job in the Premier League, but they ain't done fucking Leicester, have they? They've not won the Premier League. They've not won the FA Cup. They've not won all these tournaments, and they're never going to do a Leicester. What we might moan about our owners now, in 10 years, no other fucking club has achieved what we've done without being Liverpool, Man United, or whatever. We're in a really difficult position. And if you talk about what the club needs to do as a reset, blah, 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 it's like politicians. Politicians, people vote, and it's the saying is, it's the economy, stupid. Our problem is it's the players, stupid. I have seen Peter Taylor came in, nice chap, shit manager. People like Walshy knew he was on the way out, knew he was going to go, knew that. So they can't have that manager. They get stuck in, give him some grief. There is a whole team there that we knew we had to redevelop. Claudio Ranieri won the Premier League, and whether he was going to be good enough to keep us up the next season, blah, blah, blah. Everyone was telling him, well, Shaky did it, not him. But he also knew he had to change that team because there were players that were coming to the end of that cycle. Claude Puel came in knowing he had to do the same thing. we are now in a situation where we have the hardest job. I mean, again, Rodgers had a problem. You know, he knew he had to get rid of people, get people in. So we're really now in a difficult situation where we've got a bunch of useless players who, however you do it, you can say Vardy's not getting the passes and the ball, but when he does, he's not scoring.
Yeah, but Graham, though, I agree with you, by the way. What you said is right, but you have to look at how you got into that position, then, don't you? You have to look at how did we arrive.
There's no point in looking backwards.
That's not how you in order to see what the weak links or the ineffective links in the chain have been, you have to do due diligence and proper analysis and review of how you got to making those decisions. It's the structural decision making processes that have been wrong. It's not a case of just bringing a new manager, you know, and all of a sudden, like you said, the players aren't good enough. But how did we accumulate a squad that was not good enough? That means one by one, these signings, we're talking probably a good 10, 12, 15 players. How did we get to the position where we sign those 10, 15 players? So we have to go back. We do have to go back and actually say, well, which individuals were responsible for identifying this player? Which individuals were responsible for signing off on this player? And what was our decision-making process at the time? And where was that wrong? So that we don't continue to repeat those mistakes moving forward.
And how do you think that that's not happening? And that's not happening as a continuous process?
Because one minute we had Enzo Ball trying to play a particular style of football with a certain profile of player, and then we completely changed to Steve Cooper, which was
why we did that? Because Enzo fucked off.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you? But then why would it?
And honestly, let me just finish this one. Is Enzo Ball with those players? And I know you want the Cruyff system of 11 players being able to play with both feet, playing any position, and even in goal twice on a Sunday. But we've never we wouldn't have that. That wouldn't work in this division. We would be in the same position. So then you go, okay, shit. What matters most? We've got to stay up. Oh, by the way, who kept Forrest up? Oh, I think it's that Cooper bloke. Bit ugly, isn't he? Forrest bloke. Yeah, but it will bring him in. Yeah, there wasn't a queue.
That's where they went wrong. That's where they went wrong.
We went after two best managers we could get, and both of them told us to fuck off.
This is the problem, though. You don't go for people who are just available at the time. It's like, oh, we lost our manager. Scratching our heads around. Who's the best available? Oh, okay, you end up with Cooper. We
went for the best two managers.
No, we did not. No, we did not go for the best.
We went. What Graham's saying is, I think we were linked with Potter, we were linked with Moyes, we were linked with Ruud van Nistelrooy even back then. We were linked with other managers.
And the problem is there is a lack of consistency in your approach. So one minute you want to identify this method of playing football and impose it on the squad, and then the next minute you want to turn around and say, oh, that method, throughout, it wasn't our fault that we've lost the way of that method, but we have to replace it with somebody else. Why didn't you just bring in somebody who also plays Enzo Ball? Enzo Ball is not exclusive to Enzo, by the way. We call it Enzo Ball, and Graham mistakenly just called it Johan Cruyff Ball. Graham is old enough to remember Rinus Michels.
I know exactly what you want. You want a chess match every game, and I'm just saying that you like.
Damn straight I do. And it was killing it last season. And if you think it doesn't work in the Premier League, then how do we know? We didn't try. What we did try is Steve Cooper, the guy who had kept Forrest up. How did that work out? What we did try was something, again, different. Van Nistelrooy, who's available at the time? Oh, Van Nistelrooy's won a few games last week. Let's pick him, at the moment. We should be identifying our next managers 1, 2, 3 years in advance, because they all play the same way. And that is the way that the club plays football. Not 1 minute we play one way, then the next minute we change, and then we change again because either the manager left or some players. We have to have that consistency. And one thing that the 3 B clubs, Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, do have is consistency in their approach to the game, and therefore the manager becomes interchangeable.
Let me go to Tom, because I think Tom was going to say something.
Come on, Tom, it's your go.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with what Manny says, correct. I mean, you listened to the interview from Tony Bloom, the Brighton manager, 10 months ago, and I remember listening because it's quite an interesting conversation. And he was saying before Robert De Zerbi, they'd already looked at Robert De Zerbi 2 years ago. They'd already pinpointed him as the next manager of Brighton with 300 candidates because they all played the same kind of football as Potter was playing. They already pinpointed him. And this is where Leicester have been left behind over the last probably 5 to 6 years that we sack a manager and we haven't got a Scooby-Doo what we're doing and who's going to come in, who's the next manager lined up. We sacked Cooper. We didn't have a clue who we were bringing in. There was no plan there by the looks of it to get the replacements in the door. Brighton get rid of a manager and they know exactly who they're going to get because they know exactly how he plays. Does he fit the mould of the club? Does he fit the mould of the way the players they've got at the club to play the formation and systems? Robert Zerbi walked into Brighton. What did he do? He got them into Europe. He got them playing football the same way they were playing under Potter. He got them challenging in Europe. I think got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, was it? And they had some good away days. But Brighton know what they're doing. Brighton will already have in mind who they want to be their next manager if the German blokes don't work out who came in this year. They are so far in front of us now, we are left behind. And we talk about what the club do to review it. Well, they had a review. It was internal, and John Rudkin marked his own paperwork and then sent it back as A-star all round. You know,
you don't know
the club,
though, do you?
We don't know it, but we said
so
there was
funny.
going to be an internal review, and we.
To be fair, let's just focus on that point that Tom just made. When we did go down the first time, we went to the Championship. We did do some kind of review, and we ended up with Enzo, a left field appointment. Everyone was a bit shocked. The issue wasn't the first part of the rebuild, is that we didn't continue with that rebuild by replacing Enzo with Enzo 2.0. We completely changed again. With now the players who also, remember, they were moaning about it. Like, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what style of football we're playing. We've just played 46 games this way. And now all of a sudden we want to change again. Do you remember Cooper saying, we're not going to change too much. I'll watch 46 games. We're just going to try and improve on it. It was nothing like Enzo Ball. It was slightly hampered with Ricky, but he didn't play Ricky even when he was fit. So we've got to, the first point of call is the club, and this does come from the ownership and the board and the rest of it, is identify what style of football, slip of the tongue again, what style of football do you want to play? And then we have to play that way for the next 10, 20 years. The manager will always play that style of football, whoever the manager is. The players will always play that football until we see a time to change it all again. What you don't do is just start jumping from one thing to another, because every time you jump from one thing to another, you need a different profile of player. You end up with a mishmash, which is exactly what we've got of this manager wanted this player, that manager wanted that player, and now we're in this bit that just don't all work together at all, because there was no coherence, no thought plan, no consistent long-term approach to not just a recruitment, but style of playing and the managers to play that way too.
Graham, I mean, you remember how bad that season was, the last time we went down, right? And I mean, Tony says here, we sack managers and then panic. I mean, you think back to when Rodgers was sacked, it took, over 2 weeks to appoint Dean Smith. We played 2 games in that time, lost them both. Why was that I think this is one of the points. There never seems to be a plan. Surely they saw how bad we were under Rodgers for so long. Even if they thought, okay, we're going to give him till the end of the season, or we'll let him relegate us just as basically credit in the bank, surely they should have had a list of names lined up, ready to go for when they sacked him. But they seemingly didn't have that. I mean, they interviewed Jesse Marsh, who turned us down, and then we got Dean Smith.
I think any managerial change during the season is a knee-jerk reaction. As much as bad everybody didn't like Rodgers, if you'd have kept him, we might have got those 2 points.
We may have, yeah, we may have.
And then it's like with Cooper. Cooper when we were still managing to score goals, and our goal difference didn't look like a cricket score. It's not. I think you do discredit to a club. If you look at the managers that we've appointed, they've either been up and coming and turn out really well. I mean, Enzo, it's not really Enzo ball, is it? It's Pep Guardiola ball. The playing out from the back, and every team has a bit of that in the Premier League. Everybody, even I was watching, as I said earlier on, I was watching Bristol and Sheffield, and God love them, they were trying to do the same thing. So the actual act of Enzo going, I think they would have had a plan. Potter, Moyes, those people that if he goes, but I don't think they saw it coming. They would have had them there. And again, you kind of discount or say it's not relevant that we were still hanging over a point thing. We were going to be the third worst team probably in the Premier League, and what manager is going to think, oh shit, I'll just give up my job, I'll come here. I mean, we wanted that bloke from West Bromwich Albion, didn't we?
But Graham, every professional organisation has contingency plans in place should the worst case scenario happen. You know, if we lose our manager, we already know 3 candidates. This is our first choice candidate because he plays this way. The second choice candidate plays exactly the same way too. And the third choice candidate plays the same way. And they're all different variations of availability. But that thinking isn't done after you've sacked the manager and who do we need to know now. That thinking has already been done in the last 6 months. It's constantly being done in the background. You know, Ruud said something interesting. It was December, just before the January transfer window opened. And he said, I think it was mid-December, he said, yeah, the window's coming up or something, and now we've started discussions about players. You shouldn't be starting discussions about players 2 weeks before the transfer window opens. This should be a continuous process that's being done every day, every week. You should have targets in your mind all year round, and depending on availability, you get them. We don't just say, oh, we need a player, we'll have a look in a couple of weeks. You know, we need a manager who's around now. This thing all needs to be done in advance. You don't react. It should already just be executing the plan you already have in place. Graham's so upset by that, he's decided to leave. But that is the way you genuinely do things. I mean, even in my small business world, I mean, I'm always thinking of, if that goes wrong, what will I do? If that goes wrong, what will I do? You're constantly having to manage like that continuously. And the fact that such a professional organisation like Leicester City doesn't doing that away would suggest to me is a large part of the reason why we're in this mess.
Look, I want to. Graham did his best to take it away from Man United, so I'm going to go back there now for the last 10 minutes, and I think he's going to be joining back. I think his camera froze. Tom, we've spoken about obviously certain personnel and things like that, and players who can go in there. I mean, what do you actually want to see from the boys tonight? Because we talk about, oh, we need a win. We say, oh, we need a goal. At least give us a goal. Some people will say we just need to see fight. I mean, what are you thinking, mate, for tonight? What do you want to see?
But to get a win, mate, you've got to have all that together. You've got to have that as one. You've got to have some kind of performance and understanding of how we're going to play. You've got to have some fight, hunger, and determination, because that's the basics of being a professional footballer, in my opinion. If you ain't got that as a professional footballer, then what are you doing playing football? You know what I mean? They're the basics in there. And you have to have it all together. If you don't have we saw against the West Ham. Look, let's not go wrong. That first home game under Van Nistelrooy, we had 33 shots against us, and we managed to win 3-1. Now, someone say, well, where was the performance? It wasn't, and that was his first game. But the guts was there, and there was a heart, and there was a desire to stop that ball going in the net, even though they had that many chances. We haven't seen that in enough games this season. The look on our side. That's also something in football you've got to have. You've got to have a look. I think today is all about that Chelsea performance of last week, even though, yes, we lost and it was by 1-0. But there were still bits of that game that you thought we were in it long enough periods of time. We kept the goal, we could see a penalty, Mad saved it, the confidence lifts a bit. Yes, we go 1-0 down, but we still create a couple of chances. But you've got to start to create chances regular. And I know they don't come as much as they would in the Championship. But when we do get the chances, that's been our biggest problem this season, and that's putting the ball in the net. We've got to get early goal, in my view, as well. To get that early goal, it'll settle the confidence down, it'll settle the king power down. And, the last thing we want to do is go 1-0 down after 5 minutes, because I said earlier, the toxic atmosphere, the king power most weeks now is horrific. It just dies. The fans start off really buoyant to get behind it, but then within 5 minutes, the goal's gone in and it's dead. There's no singing. Everyone just sits there looking at each other going, oh, well, that's it now for the next 70 minutes. There's nothing to sing about, there's nothing to cheer about. We've got to put a 90-minute performance in with the hunger, with desire, but take those chances when they come, because they come few and far between. You've just got to give it all today, and that's the thing about it. Is give it everything out there, leave everything on the pitch. You put a performance in like you've done at home this season, the Wolves, the Brentfords, Palace, the Fulhams, you might as well kiss goodbye, already. You might as well just not bother playing for the rest of the season, because for what we've seen a large part of the season, the performances haven't been good enough, and that's why we're in the mess we're in.
Welcome back, Graham. Welcome back, mate.
That wasn't me throwing my toys out with the phone.
It's all good, mate.
Actually, go on the phone.
No one called you an idiot. No one called you an idiot this week, Graham. You're all right.
I'm
No need to leave.
working on it. I did try. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been trying. He's been trying. Graham, I'll ask you now, Graham, mate. We are obviously talking about the United game. I just asked Tom, what do you want to see from that Leicester side tonight? Because, I keep hearing people say we have to win. Some people are saying we just need a goal. I mean, what would you be happy with tonight?
I'd like to see one of our players getting sent off or actually getting stuck in and being a bit more physical. We're just a bunch of pansies, as my South African rugby teacher used to say. You look, how often do we physically get bullied off the ball? Look at I've done it before with Everton, all these sorts of things. Man up, boys, get out there. If you can't get the ball, get the man. Give the crowd something to get into. And just take your chances. I think we've all been discussing it. Didn't you think for 1 minute that all the players think we're going down, so we might as well make the best of it now? You guys are all too young, and Manny's mate Rudkin gives out 3-year contracts. But I remember the days when we used to get to this point of the season, and there were players who had done sweet FA all season, suddenly going, you know what? We go shit contracts up at the end of the season, and the last 5 or 6 games they're outstanding.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
Steady, Graham. You're always very positive there. Every time I've spoken to you, it's your natural love of Leicester. It says, you know what? It's just a typical thing like Leicester to do to win at Arsenal. We get beat. It's a typical Arsenal thing to do to win against a big team, against Chelsea. We get beat. The consistent element here is we get beat. So
yeah, absolutely.
Today I want to see 2 different sports in one. I don't want to see football today. I want to see a bit of NFL in the form of a blitz. I want to blitz them. So from the funes and whistle goes, charge at the man, charge at the ball. I don't care about formations anymore. I don't care about this stuff. Just go flying into them, no matter what. Get bookings, push them off, try and be a bit rough with them. This is Man United who on average of 250 grand a week. It's like my old rugby coach used to say, they don't like it up them. Get that first challenge in, you put a marker down, and the next time you won't fancy it. So all those old school ways of doing things I would like to see. And that was the first blitz, but also a bit of basketball. What it means is 5-3-2 last week, we get 3 touches in Chelsea's box. Now, Graham used to have a higher success rate when he was a teenager. We need to play basketball. I don't care if it's end to end. We need to get chances created. We need to increase the chance creation. If that means that you aren't as good defensively, who cares? We can't keep a clean sheet anyway. The fans at this point, let's just focus on the one, as in scoring 1, and then we'll worry about the other side later on. Let's start getting some goals in and try and build some confidence, because if you don't score a goal, even if you're getting beat 2-3-0, even if you get beat 3-2 or 5-2, at least the people who scored those 2 goals, there's 2 assist makers and 2 goal scorers who go, well, at least I got a goal today, I got an assist today. There is nothing you can take from another nil performance in terms of the scoring charts.
Tom, do you agree with both of Manny and Graham? Is the team just? I think they're bang on. The team is soft. And they don't look like they want to put in a fight. I mean, you remember, even think of like some of the players from The Great Escape in the year we won the league. I mean, Vasilevsky, Robert Huth. I mean, they wouldn't mind splitting someone's head open with an elbow. Yeah. We've got none of that at the moment. And of course, we're not saying it's a good thing to go and get sent off. But at the moment, we just need to see some kind of fight, and we don't have it.
Personally, if I got sent off, at least I got to play 3 games, eh? That's why you should be looking at it. Look, it's something that we haven't done enough for a long time now. The dark arts, as they call it, standing on someone's toes at corner kicks, standing on the back of the Achilles. Bruno Fernandes today, that should be the first thing what Rude's saying to any of the players. Wind him up, get him sent off. He'll put a challenge in, he'll come back and go at you. Have a go at him. You got nothing to lose. When he goes for the ball, leave a little bit on him, because he hates it and he's going to roll around. He wants to get you booked, but he'll come back, because he always does. And how many times have we seen Bruno Fernandes sent off because he's got rattled by someone to wound him up? Casemiro is another one. get at them, give them a bit of the dark arts. Don't let them bully you off it today. Getting them from the start and wind them up a little bit. That's the thing about it. Like I say, the dark arts is something we don't do enough of. And for me, we've got the players, when you do play Boober and Ndidi, you should be steamrolling through people for fun and knocking them out of the way. It's like the American football, just barge them out of the way. Free kick, sorry, ref. Yeah, but you've left one on him and you've left 6 studs in the back of his Achilles and stuff like that. We've got to be dirty. Like I say, it's a way of winning football matches. Stoke used to do it for fun, and they stayed 4 years in the Premier League, making it being a rugby team. So, yeah, I agree with everything both of them have said. But like you say, I think Man United are dead. Just go for it. Our best form at the moment, I've said this for a long time, is attack. Don't worry about defending now. Just like you say, there's too much to gone. 2 seasons too far, too gone to worry about trying to work out how to defend. So we might try and win games 5-4 and 4-3. Is that the way it's got to be? It's the way it's got to be.
Right, we're going to finish with this. By the way, here, Ant said Skip is a bigger shithouse than Boober. Get Skip in.
Steady on, Ant. Steady on, Ant. I'm taking that. Don't get crazy, Ant. We just talked about being physical and getting rough in the face. If we have Skip and Winks in midfield, we are not going to be able to get in your face when all we've got is a couple of Oompa Loompas in the middle of the park, 5'9". They are not going to. How physical can you get? If you see 2 5'9" midgets in front of you, you're going to laugh. Yeah, hilarious. You want to have a fight, please? Come on, let's be serious. If you see big bad, look, I know Boober's. I'm going to defend Boober here. I know he's had 3 or 4 stinkers in a row, but he did have 3 or 4 games that were good before then. And if I look at it and I'm trying to get into a nightclub and I see Boober on the door or I see Oliver Skip in the door, I think I'm going in if Skip's on the door. And if I see Boober's getting in, I'm going, I'm not sure I fancy this.
Yeah, I hear you. Right, listen, we're going to end with this as we do every week. Score predictions. Tom, mate, what are you going with?
Let's go for a classic 4-3 Leicester win.
4 goals. Wow, 4 goals for Leicester. I mean, the 3 for United sounds likely, mate. I'm not sure on the 4 for Leicester. Manny, score prediction, mate.
I was going to let Graham go. Age before beauty. So, Graham, would you like to take that one?
Before I do the score prediction, a little point today. My son's in Australia. Like you, it's worked. He watched the Melbourne Grand Prix this morning. He then runs a bar, and they had a drop-in band called Mumford and Son. Came in and did a pop-up thing, and he's at Kasabian now. So it would be the perfect result for us to get stuff 4-0 tonight, which is 24 hours. But no, do you know what? I actually can't give you a score, but the only number that comes into my head is 2-1. And if we won 2-1, it would be brilliant. And if we scored and we lost 2-1, that would be better than out.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are thinking at the moment. A goal, just a goal, please. Manny, what are you saying, mate, for your score prediction?
Every week, I feel like law of averages. We've got to score. We've got to win one game. There's got to be one. And on paper, this one makes sense. They've just played midweek. They fancy it a bit against Sociedad. It's a sexier cup game than playing Leicester in the league. They've got nothing to play for. They've had a few days, probably limited training, just doing a light jog. I mean, Bruno's in a better form, which worries me. But I think if we rattle Bruno, we can rattle them. I'm actually agreeing with Tom this week. I'm thinking I keep watching that highlights package on Sky Sports of the 5-3, with Vardy and Cambiasso scoring. It just keeps popping up wherever I look. Whenever it's Leicester Man United, that's the game that they show. So lightning striking twice, 5-3.
Wow. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Rye says 3-0 to United. 2-2 draw, says Paul. Tony says 2-0 to United. Gray thinks 2-0 to United as well. Mark, 3-0 loss. 1-1 from Bazza. Mark says 2-1. Glenn, 2-1 win as well. Helena, 2-0. Her heart says 2-0 but win, but her head is saying 2-0 loss. Rye says, okay, I'll change to 3-1 Maguire own goal to apologise for the Carabao Cup. And Foss Hub is saying 2-1 to Leicester. There we go. Kunal as well with the 3-2. Yeah, I think we're going to lose 2-0 today, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a shame. But it's the most that's got to be the most common scoreline for us this season, right? 2-0 loss. It's got
0-2 is standard. That's your head. But
yeah,
we've played them 3 times, and It's not been 2-0 yet, I don't think, and we were actually good at the last game against them. I think it's more a case of, as someone said it, it's like two drunks out, it's kicking out time at the pub, and it's two drunks trying to land a punch on each other. It's just embarrassing to watch these two teams trying to attack. We cannot hit the target. We're swinging lefts. Actually, we're not even swinging lefts or rights. We're standing there, hoping to dodge a few punches. But United are also horrendous. I know they've had a couple of decent results, but you'll see that with United. They'll actually perform better when the cameras are really on, when there's a bigger match. But today they'll have the attitude, oh, it's Leicester. Leicester aren't very good. We can win this in second gear. And that is what we have to take advantage of.
There we go. Tom, little shout out, mate, for your channel. Have you got anything coming up on that anytime soon?
Yeah, post-match review tonight, and then looking forward to a nice international break for a couple of weeks, so we can't lose a game, eh?
Lovely stuff. Yeah. Fingers crossed, mate. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll have some stuff coming out on the channel over the next couple of weeks over international break. I want to get Graham on again. I want to Manny Graham debate about something. We'll have to find something they disagree on. Won't be too difficult, I'm sure. Yeah, and then also tonight we will be live, of course, from 20 to 7. So yeah, 6:40 p.m. we will be live for Match Day Live all the way through the match, and then for about 45 minutes after the game as well. So make sure to join us for that. Thanks to Tom, thanks to Graham, thanks to Manny.
There's one more plug, don't forget. 6 o'clock today.
Oh, well, I don't know the exact time. It's going to be
let's say from 6 onwards.
Yeah.
Yours truly might be on the United stand today. Just a couple of million subscribers. No, you're nothing major. So if Goldbridge has the bottles to turn up, I'll educate him about football. Not a problem. Happy to help the minnows. But it's one of those, isn't it? It's United. It's a weird time. Sunday, 7 o'clock. It's such a strange time to play football. I can't think of Sunday. When did the last time we played Sunday evening late?
I don't know.
Doesn't happen often, does it?
Yeah, so cut time.
It must be because they played in Europe in the week, right? I'm guessing that's what it is. I'm guessing that's why it's been pushed back.
Finals, it's the League Cup final, so they cleared the slot.
Yeah, of course.
Is it League Cup final today? I really shouldn't have gone up for the Grand Prix. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, I am as well, mate. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, if you follow us on Twitter or X, Blue Tinted LCFC, I will post a link to the United stand when I know what time it is. So stay tuned for that one. Manny will be on there. And yeah, thanks all. Thanks everybody for joining. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit subscribe. We will see you at 6:40 this evening. Bye.